Want to welcome to the program. Actually, want to welcome back to the program because we got looking in the archives. Omarosa, you had joined us here 11 years ago, I think it was. He had a self-help book out. Good morning. How are you?
I did. How are you? I'm so glad to be back on.
Well, a pleasure to have you here. Another book out here. How many books does this make now that you have penned?
This is my third book, but this is my first bestseller, and certainly my first international bestseller, and the first time I've ever gone to number one.
Do you think it's because of the topic? I mean, and the book, let's give it the proper introduction. It's Unhinged, and it's a book about your experience in the White House, the president, and everything else, an insider's account of the Trump White House. Do you think the topic is really what's pushing it up?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of things. When the book came out, no one was expecting that I wrote a book. No one from the White House had ever gone out and told the story about the campaign and the White House and that sort of thing. And particularly since I've known him, for actually 16 years, and so I think that people connected with that. But also the information I was sharing, which was about what Trump was like in the White House. People wanted to know if it was just as bad as they had expected, or if the rumors were true. And so I kind of pulled the curtain back on the Trump White House and allowed people to know what it was like from day to day, hour by hour in that place.
Let me ask you how the relationship was prior to being invited to join the campaign and then be on the staff in the White House. Was it a business relationship, a business friendship type relationship? Where was the relationship before you decided to come on board the campaign?
Now, Roland, I can just be totally transparent with you. Donald and I were friends. I met him in 2003 on The Apprentice. We did 4 television shows together. We co-produced a television show together. And prior to joining the campaign, I considered him a friend.
Oh.
And so when he called me and said, I'm going to run for president, and you're one of the few people I know who worked in the White House before and worked on campaigns, and so you need to come and help me, I thought I was flying from California to New York to help a friend run for office. And I detail that journey, of course, in Unhinged.
And at some point then, was it after you were in the White House, in the position in the White House, President Trump is in office, you've been invited to join the staff there. Did things change, or your perception or your view of really where things were at that point?
Yeah, Roland, friends don't ask you to do things that are illegal. Friends don't ask you to do things that are immoral and unethical. And time and time again, he put us all in positions that could have very serious consequences. And I think people are seeing that now as they're reading the Mueller report, how many people Donald asked to do some very extreme things, and they said no. From Corey Lewandowski to Don McGahn to Hope Hicks to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, they all said, he asked me to do this, and I said no because it was illegal or immoral or unethical. And so I discovered that he would use anyone to just get what he wants, and friends don't put you in that situation. And it wasn't until I'm, talking to the special counsel's office and having to hire attorneys and all of that you realize the magnitude of the situation that he put us in.
Was this a different side of him that you hadn't been aware of beforehand, or do you think he actually changed when he got the position as president?
Yeah, it pained me to write about the kind of mental changes I saw in him. When I used to sit across from him in The Apprentice in that boardroom and everybody would tune in and watch us, Donald Trump was so sharp, He would drill us with questions, and he was like a prosecutor. He would get down to who did what. He was great with figures. His vocabulary was, vast. And then fast forward to sitting in a meeting with him, trying to brief him, and he couldn't even grasp simple concepts of how the government worked and what was supposed to be done and executed. He wouldn't read the 2 or 3 page briefings that I would put together for him or anyone else would put together for him. And it was a little alarming because the Donald I knew 15 years ago, and all of us age and change, he had such a clear vision for leadership, and the person that I came to see in the White House was different and compromised.
So, in the business of running the White House, there, did you ever have a chance just to try to sit down on back to the friendly person to person basis and say, "Hey, Don, what's going on? You're a little different from what you were, and I'm concerned about this or that." Or did you feel like that was not a path that you could approach?
Actually, what I did was go to Ivanka because I had known Ivanka just as long as I'd known her dad, and she was working in the White House at that time, and we were very close. And so I went to her and I said, Ivanka, yesterday, your father was having difficulties pronouncing words. It was almost like he was having some kind of neurological thing, and I'm not a doctor, but this is what I shared with her. And I told her that I was very concerned about something that happened on Air Force One when we were coming back from one of the rallies. And she looked at me, and I'd never seen her look this way before, and she says, you can't talk about that. She's like, we've got it. We've got it under control. And I'm like, have you gotten him to a doctor? Have you examined, he needs to be examined. She said, I said we've got it. The family has it under control. I would later come to learn that his father died of or had Alzheimer's, and his mother had dementia, and that the family was concerned that he was in some ways being affected by one of those conditions. But at the time, I didn't know. I was just expressing my concern, but she told me in no uncertain terms that topic was off limits. And so...
Were you alone? Were you alone in this perception of what you were seeing? Did you have anybody, a confidant that you could talk about that was also on your inside position and also on kind of your side, or were you standing alone in really what you are seeing?
I went to Dr. Jackson, who was the president's physician, and I shared, some of the things confidentially with him. I talked with some of the other staffers, some of which have written about it now. But we quickly learned that the president's health is nothing that you can even speculate about. That if you do that, then it raises all types of alarm, and not only would you be terminated very quickly, but they would come after you. And so I was warned very, very early on, and very very forcefully. People communicated, don't talk about that outside of this kind of circle of confidants. But I think that people are now seeing it. There's this whole clips of him on YouTube having those kind of moments where he can't speak clearly, where he can't pronounce words, where he's walking the wrong way, and he's having something is going on. And like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you, having known him for so long, something was affecting him in a way that compromised his ability to do the job.
All right. Well, listen, Omarosa, we've run at the end of time. I know you've got others to talk to. The book is called Unhinged, an insider's account of the Trump White House. A pleasure talking to you this morning, Omarosa, and I look forward to our third visit when that comes up in the future.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Rollin.
Thank you, Omarosa. Bye-bye.
Rollin.